Hi, and welcome to the Growing Good podcast by Casey. I'm your co-host, Nadia Vandercoop.
And I'm your co-host, Marco Costomo, and we're excited to talk to you about fall fundraising and the fact that it doesn't need to be a frenzy. So, not fall fundraising frenzy, but fall fundraising doesn't need to be a frenzy. We hope. All right, Nadia, take us away.
Well, we're in the fall giving season. End of October, we're all looking to year end. This can be either the best time of the year for you all or the most stressful time. So today we'll be talking a little bit about how we optimize the fall giving season.
Well, I know we've used the gardening metaphor before, and Nadia is an avid gardener. And I like talking about growing things. I'm not necessarily the gardener or the farmer myself, but it's a great metaphor because farming or gardening, you have harvest season, and it can be for farmers especially, it can be a really busy season, a lot going on. And I know they work long days, and we in the fundraising world and nonprofit sector work long days during our haymaking season, which is really the fall fundraising window from mid-September through mid-December. And we're halfway through.
That's
So
right.
both Nadia and I have been working long days with our clients. How are you feeling, Nadia?
In some ways I'm feeling great. I feel like we've got a system and we're helping our clients sort of run through it. In other days, I feel like my to-do list is longer than the hours I'm working. So it's a mix. Catch me on one day, it might be great. Catch me on another, not so much. How about you?
Well, Nadia, I love that you mentioned uh, a system and how that's been helpful. I know it's super busy, but as I reflect back on my years in the fundraising sector, in the nonprofit world, it's, every year the system that we're using is getting better and we're refining that. And we call that the integrated relational fundraising framework. And implementing a system and following a system has definitely made it easier, especially as we work with a lot of different clients and teach them that system. So starting early is one of those things.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I think, part of developing a strategy with anybody, with any organization or any client, the more you can be working 3 to 6 months ahead, at least you have a roadmap that you're going for. So you're not surprised every month about what you have to do. And I think that's been one of the biggest things especially with the smaller nonprofits we worked with, is encouraging them to think fundraising. They're really good about thinking what they're doing as an organization, the services they're providing, the ministry they're providing. They're not always so great at thinking through and then creating workbacks for fundraising and development. And that's sort of where we come in to set a system in, to set a schedule, and to help them execute that schedule.
Yeah. No, it is. And really, I mean, while we're talking about the 60-day sprint right now, really the whole system for integrated relational fundraising starts in January. So you're already creating a rolling approach. And we call it integrated relational fundraising because it's holistic. It's not just a digital approach, it includes very relational in-person phone calls, Zoom meetings, handwritten thank you cards, mail with handwritten notes on it, but that creates a kind of integrated system where the CRM and whether it's the annual campaign or a mini campaign or a capital campaign is the hub for the spokes of all that activity. How have you seen that work as we've played that out?
Well, I think, to be honest, I think sometimes some of our clients get overwhelmed with all the spokes. They think, how am I gonna do all this? And I think, but once they get into the rhythm and once they understand the importance and then also see the fruit of that work that they're putting into with donors, with stewardship, with a cleaner CRM, they tend to get really excited and get really energized by it. So I think watching that evolution has been a lot of fun as someone that comes alongside and just, you know, everybody loves to see progress. And so when they see it, when they see a handwritten note yield a deeper relationship, or maybe a bigger gift, it's exciting. And so it works.
Yeah. Yeah, it sure does. I think one of the things in that can feel overwhelming is doing all that with everybody on your donor list. So
That's right.
segmentation is super important.
Yeah,
So segmenting major donors, mid-level donors, even making subsegments in each one of those, and then other, donors that you can mail, and then your email donors, people that you're engaging digitally, and even in there to be able to segment them. So that you have really personalized approaches for people. And that means having a really good CRM where you can put notes, segment. It doesn't need to be an expensive CRM, but it needs to be one that works for you well and integrates
right.
your system and saves time.
Yeah. And it becomes a little bit like muscle memory and habit building. When you do this integrational fundraising, you begin to build habits around how you engage donors, how you engage your stewardship process. All of those things start stacking and you just get better and better at it as you roll it through.
So we're 60 days out from the end of the fundraising season. What would you say to our friends and clients and others that are considering and looking at what can be done this time of year? What are your top recommendations? Do you have like a top three?
Yeah, top 3, don't panic. There's still time to roll out a really thoughtful, intentional strategy in these 60 days. Make sure that you're balancing your asks with celebration and impact stories. So, not everything rolling out of your offices should be an ask. It should also be celebration of the work that's been done, celebration of the impact. And don't underestimate the little things because sometimes they have the greatest impact. So back to things like a handwritten card or a holiday card sent in the mail, those kind of things really build credibility and goodwill for folks. Those would be my top 3. Mostly don't panic.
Those are great. I think I would add using that as your base that I know in this digital world that we are continuing to move to online, and online giving has like increased rapidly, and it continues to
Yeah,
become really important. But there's a significant segment of donors that love mail, and they might give online once they get the mail. So I think doing direct mail or more smaller segmented mail drops are really important, and mirroring that with your email appeals as well. So remember to mail the top donors. Use a segment there for handwritten notes. And then I would say phone calls that aren't necessarily, they don't all need to be asked, but just connecting.
right.
Really personal phone calls, and maybe even experiment if you're doing a larger segment. All your major donors, I would do a personal phone call as you're connecting and meeting with people. And obviously, this is the next 6 weeks is top priority is meeting with major donors in person as you're able.
Right.
But then also consider doing a voicemail drop for using a program like Slide Broadcast to your regular donors so that they hear from you in a different way. But the key on that is to be authentic and not too formal, like friendly and authentic. And like, don't make it a formal, like a here I am from this organization and I want to be in
Right.
touch. Like, make it friendly and relatable.
Yeah, yeah. So, Marku, if someone was staring at their calendar, we're almost at the end of October here. Someone's staring at their calendar for the next 60 days. They don't have any plans around their year-end strategy. What are some of the foundational blocks you would tell them to slot in these next couple months?
First, segment their donors, major donors, and make sure that they connect either by phone, in person, or Zoom with all of their major donors who gave last year. So just connect very personally and ask, and maybe have a very simple case that you're presenting or following up with. So that's just, it could just be a 3 or 4 pager with some numbers, budget numbers in there as well. And secondly, do plan on a mailer, even if you don't have one done already, do that.
Yeah,
And then you can have like email companion emails. Wave your flag on Giving Tuesday, get some matching funds if you can from a major donor for that. I would do the holiday greeting card that's personalized again to all your donors. And then just make sure that you're giving people multiple opportunities to give in December, like early December, well, that's Giving Tuesday, mid-December, and then uh, the last week before New Year's. That's really important.
yeah,
And where you can to do phone calls on top of. So if you can get your team and or board members engaged in calling donors and just saying thank you, that means a lot.
yeah.
So that's quite a bit, but if you break it down,
That's
map it
right.
out on a calendar, it's doable.
It is doable. Yeah, our team actually gave us kudos the other day for the first time. One of our longest team members was so impressed that we're KC's finally in a system that we've got clients thinking about year-end stuff by mid-October. That's, because even when we started, I think we the 60-day sprint not as prepared as we could have been. And so we've learned even for us how to work that back and implement systems that don't have us panicking in November, even though we work hard in those times.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the reality of like working in Canada with Canada Post
That's right.
surprises
Yeah.
both last year and this year. Sort of like
Right.
it just changes the plan, but it I think it means that we can plan and then think about adding mail as an extra. But it does have value. And planning further in advance. I mean, I'm a big believer now in planning further in advance. And I think if you're like me, where that's not like your natural habit, if you're like more like deadline driven person like I am, the thing to do is really work in a system where your to-dos are really clear and timeline. So calendarizing the whole year in advance
Yeah.
uh, of what goes when. And then, even by, if you need to make changes, but by end of August, early September, having the rest of the year planned out, day by day of what's getting pushed out. I think, and if that fits into a larger system like the integrated relational fundraising framework, then it's really helpful. You're not reinventing the wheel. Like, what should we do this year?
Yeah.
Should we?
Exactly.
So I think that takes out some of the stress.
For sure. And I think we stay nimble enough and flexible enough within that system to weather storms like strikes or transitions within a client's organization. We're not putting these dates in and saying that they're immovable, but what we are saying is this is what we're aiming for whatever reason we might have to switch a little bit. We have that flexibility, but this is sort of where we're headed. I think
Yeah.
that's been helpful too, because I am a person that likes to work ahead. And sometimes when the calendar gets, thrown up and reshuffled, I'm kind of like, okay, let's let's recalibrate and go again. So I think somewhere between me and you is the real sweet spot where
Yeah.
we're headed. So
Yeah, I think it is helpful having like the system and then a playbook that follows the system. That helps with changes too. So more like moving dates within the playbook. But I think what's at the heart of all of this is the relational piece with donors. And I don't know if we can emphasize this enough because I think it's so easy for the organizational nonprofit and the partner donor relationship to become transactional from the nonprofit side.
yes, yeah.
Have you seen that at all in your work where you felt like, hey, I'm not sure this is really truly relational anymore?
Yeah, I think I've experienced it when the organization has been so busy doing the work that that rises to the top over everything else. And so, all of a sudden weeks, months go by and you realize, oh, I haven't really had a meaningful conversation, a meaningful engagement with a partner church, an individual donor, a major donor in a while. And I think it's very easy for EDs and staff to kind of sweep that to the back when things are more pressing in the front with the actual work. Now looking back, I wish I had just blocked time out my calendar that was immovable to say, this is my donor relational time. I'm going to make 5 phone calls this week, or I'm going to send a couple emails or whatever that might be. I think you have to get very disciplined as a leader to schedule your time out. I'm finding that even with KC right now, it's like sometimes I just need to block out time to do work, like, or to be present to a client in a way that so that my calendar doesn't get filled up with like all these like minor minutia things. And I think that would be my biggest thing is get into the habit of scheduling donor relational time. And you decide what that is going to be.
Yeah, that's good wisdom. I think, yeah. So, I mean, what you're saying is relationships don't happen by themselves, that
Right.
you have to be intentional. And part of that intentionality is not just the way you connect, it's just like prioritizing time so that you do connect.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. What do you feel? Like you're more relational than I am in some ways. And so,
I don't think
it's
that's
easier.
true,
Well, it's like
Nadia.
easier for you to pick up a phone. Like I'm just like, do I have to pick up the phone to talk to somebody? Does that
Oh, okay.
but do you know what
You're,
I mean? Like, it comes
yeah,
more
yeah,
natural to you, like, to do
yeah,
that kind of stuff, and so and again, I think with smaller organizations, the ED is often still doing a lot of the work, program ministry work. I think as you get bigger, you maybe see a bit more separation between ED and program staff, but it's not uncommon for, especially in a organization maybe $1 million and less, where the ED is still very involved in the day-to-day running of everything. So I
yeah.
think it gets harder to make time.
It is true. I think I mean, even for development directors, like in a slightly larger organization or the executive directors, it is really important to, and I kind of lived through this in both seats over a 25-year period. And you're right, setting that time aside to make the phone calls is so important to like, or to send emails to connect personally, and just being disciplined about that. And there are so many demands, but if there's a way to for you to find ways to just do that like as a first priority, or as like one of the big rocks that you're carrying, would be just connecting with donors and setting up the meetings. Once the meetings are set up, it kind of happens by itself.
Yeah,
But it's
for
that
sure.
inertia. The inertia is picking up the phone, sending that
That's right.
first email. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. Or even doing things like networking in different, leadership groups, different networks, all of that falls into that relational time. It's not only
yeah,
about the donors you have, but it's the donors you're looking for.
yeah,
So it's a little bit of both.
yeah. And I mean, the reality is a lot of grant writing, corporate sponsorship, faith group, and support, like all of that is also relational. And
For sure. Yep.
often the ED, they want to talk to the ED. So
That's right.
so there's a way of maybe like boards and staff intentionally freeing up time for the ED and protecting time for the ED to do this.
Right. Yeah.
So it has to that I think is a big part of like recognizing the value that the ED can bring in bringing stability to an organization through a really relational approach to fundraising.
There you have it. That's how you do the poll. No, there's so much more, but I think that's a quick primer of how you do the 60-day sprint.
Well, with the context of, next year, we'll start in January.
Right.
Start the system in January. But it is a system and with playbooks, so we're happy to provide more on that approach as well. So feel free to connect with us anytime. Check out our website at kaci.io, and you can book a call with us there. Great to have you. Thanks for listening.